Welcome back to Narativ. We'll be back with the Five Stack at around 4:30 this afternoon. It's just been a bit delayed, but I wanted to jump on and share the breaking news. Melania Trump, seemingly out of nowhere, delivered a video statement a short while ago that was aired on multiple places, including C-SPAN, saying she never had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. She called the stories lies. She claims everything we've heard about her and Jeffrey Epstein isn't true. She's also demanded Congress hold a public hearing for the victims. Her lawyers have been on a retraction campaign for weeks. The Daily Beast pulled the story. Hunter Biden got a cease and desist letter. Michael Wolff is also apparently suing her over a legal threat she sent him. But today she went very far, much further than we've ever seen her go before. On camera, this is the First Lady discussing her engagement with Jeffrey Epstein over the years, how she does know him from certain social circles, but that they were not friends. This is incredibly significant. We do not see the First Lady come out and do press conferences or announcements. For her to come out and do a press conference and an announcement ahead of what might be a further disclosures about her and Epstein may only just heighten the interest in what we're going to find out in the coming weeks. So Melania shows up today live in the White House telling everybody that she doesn't know Jeffrey Epstein other than in social circles. She says that they did not meet, her and the president did not meet because of Jeffrey Epstein. And she is also threatening a lot of people, making sure that they, in every way, do not publish anything that she says are lies about her. We will go into my reporting about Melania and Donald, in which there are many documented cases, including people who worked for Jeffrey Epstein, who explain how Melania and Donald Trump met in no uncertain terms. But first, let's take a listen to this full statement. This is Melania Trump talking about Jeffrey Epstein a short while ago at the White House, as aired on C-SPAN. Let's listen to what she has to say.
Good afternoon. The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania. The first time I crossed paths with Epstein was in the year 2000 at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I have never been legally accused or convinced of a crime in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking, abuse of minors, and other repulsive behavior. The false smears about me from mean-spirited and politically motivated individuals and entities looking to cause damage to my good name, to gain financially and climb politically, must stop. My attorneys and I have fought these unfounded and baseless lies with success and will continue to maintain my sound reputation without hesitation. To date, several individuals and companies have been legally obligated to publicly apologize and retract their lies about me, such as Daily Beast, James Carville, and HarperCollins, UK. Now is the time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone. Several prominent male executives resigned from their powerful positions after this matter became widely politicized. Of course, this doesn't amount to guilt, but we still must work openly and transparently to uncover the truth. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth. Thank you.
So that's the statement from Melania Trump, who in front of the press corps made this remarkable statement just a short while ago, saying that she was not a friend of Jeffrey Epstein. She was not a victim of Jeffrey Epstein. She barely knew Jeffrey Epstein. She said she only knew him from social circles. She goes on to say that she only knew Ghislaine Maxwell briefly, and that's why there is an email from her to Ghislaine Maxwell. And she absolutely denies any of the stories that have been emerging from the FBI files, I should add, not just generically. These stories have come from the FBI files about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. This is a massive story because we don't often see something like this. We don't often get to see Melania Trump make a statement about anything, frankly. For her to come out in this way suggests something big is happening. And that big thing that may be happening may indeed be some more details about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein that may probably or possibly come out in the near future. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts. I've asked Ellie to come back on with us. We were just on a short while ago. Maybe she'll do that. This is a significant story. This is not just a statement. It is a real thing that we are seeing here, that they are trying to get ahead, in my opinion, of what might be breaking sometime soon. Now, in order to give you some insight into what we know about Jeffrey Epstein and Melania Trump, I'm going to show you an article that I wrote not so long ago, which definitely falls into the category of describing your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and the First Lady. Let me see if I can show it up for you here, and then I'll read you some of it this way. I think is the way to do it. So this is from Narativ's post, which was, I think, a paid post. So many of you may not have seen it, but I will read it for you here, so you'll be able to see it now. The story is written as, let me just hide this banner, how Jeffrey Epstein met the First Lady. New documents in the Epstein files appear to confirm the same narrative. Epstein introduced Melania Knaus to Donald Trump. That's the cover story. And there in blue, you'll see the text that I isolated from one of those emails, one of those testimonies. Epstein introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump. So we'll describe this in it's a bit of a lengthy document, but I think it's worthy of our time here. So on the morning of November 9th, 2016, hours after Donald Trump won the presidency, someone sent Jeffrey Epstein a congratulatory email. Amid the pleasantries was a casual, devastating detail. The sender remembered flying on Trump's plane the weekend Trump met Melania. That's an important detail there. So the sender is sending this to Epstein, and he is describing what he says. He or she says they remember from being on Trump's plane, not Epstein's plane, Trump's plane, the weekend Trump met Melania. The same weekend, they first visited Epstein in Florida. Trump kept coming out of the bedroom, according to this eyewitness, the sender recalled, calling her a hot piece of ass, referring to the current First Lady. The email wasn't written for investigators or lawyers, of course. It was a private note between friends sent to Jeffrey Epstein's email account. The only reason we have it is because it was part of the big tranche of emails that was released as evidence by the FBI as part of the Epstein Transparency Act. So in this note, it's quite clear what he says, and they're sharing a memory here. And the memory reads like this. I remember flying back with Donald on his plane the first weekend I went to visit you in Florida. Was the weekend he met Melania. He kept on coming out of the bedroom saying, wow, what a hot piece of ass. So again, this is a friend of Jeffrey Epstein remembering when he or she visited Jeffrey at his Palm Beach home in Florida. And he recalls flying back with Donald on his plane after that weekend. And that Melania was there, and he remembers that their meeting, I assume this is on the plane, I don't know, maybe it was during the weekend, kept coming out of the bedroom saying, wow, what a hot piece of ass. 3 years later, the FBI would hear a strikingly similar account, this time under oath from a very different person. This time it was a witness, the July 12th, 2019 account, 3 days after Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in New York. A woman sat down with FBI agents and federal prosecutors in West Palm Beach, Florida, under a proffer agreement. A proffer agreement means she was going to say things that might incriminate her, but she was going to be allowed to say that because she was under some sort of immunity in order to reveal the crimes of somebody else. So under proffer, she spoke under penalty of perjury, meaning any lie could have sent her to prison. So maybe that's a different explanation of what proffer means. But certainly she's still under oath, but I believe it's not actually that she can be sent to prison under penalty of perjury, but I'll double check that for you with a lawyer in just a bit. Now, she was a former model. She had been recruited by Epstein around the end of 2004 and worked as his assistant from approximately 2005 until 2006. We can figure out who that person is. A former model had been recruited by Epstein around the end of 2004 and worked as his assistant from approximately 2005 until early 2006. That part is not unusual. There were a lot of models who came to work for Epstein and then became his assistant over a period of time. Her last assignment was a trip to Paris. Over roughly 1 year, she traveled with Epstein to his Manhattan townhome at 71st Street, his Palm Beach estate, his private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands, his New Mexico ranch, Boston, specifically Harvard, and Paris. She says she saw everything. Now, this goes a little bit further into how Epstein is notoriously involved in Melania Trump meeting Donald Trump. And it goes like this. Before working for Epstein, the witness was put in contact with an agent named Paolo Zampoli, who worked with ID Models. That's a very famous modeling agency. Around the same time, Jeffrey Epstein had his modeling agency. This is Paolo Zampoli, the same man who claimed to have introduced Donald and Melania Trump at a Kit Kat Club party in 1998, and whom Trump later appointed as a special envoy for international partnerships. So this is the story that she's referring to there. And I don't know if I can isolate that part for you, but I might listen back to what Melania is saying about how they met. And she refers to their book, or it refers to the book in which she describes the meeting taking place in the Kit Kat Club.
I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims.
I'm going to stop it there and welcome back Ellie Leonard, who, of course, you all know as a Epstein expert and also the panicked writer. This is remarkable that we've had now a statement in this form. I've never seen the First Lady give a statement like this. She never comes out in front of the press. She never does anything like this. If she anything, it's a written statement that she will release. But this is a very public denial that she's making. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the whole thing or hear the whole thing. Yeah. But what's your sense, and then we'll go back through some of the evidence in the Epstein files, but what's your sense of what this is all about?
I think it feels a little frantic and a little pushed. I posted with a little tongue-in-cheek that you can hardly see Donald Trump's lips moving, and because there's only one person who's telling her to make this statement today, and it's obviously, you can look at any piece of evidence and know the dates that she's saying don't line up at all. Trump was very good friends with Epstein during this time, so there's no way that Melania would never have interacted with Maxwell.
Well, we've seen photographs. We've seen so many photographs of them together that it's just, it's hard to imagine that those are just social interactions, especially when you read the body language, when you see how close they were. There's no way. What did Donald just not hang out with Jeffrey Epstein as his best friend during that day when he was out with Melania and leave Melania behind? Or, like where did she go if he was,
or like
if they had parties together?
If you just happened to be in the same social circles, but you didn't know each other, why would you be taking a whole bunch of photographs together? Like, it just doesn't, it doesn't add up. The whole idea that she's never been on the airplane, they're now trying to counter Michael Wolff again and the Daily Beast again. That's clearly where that comes from. It's so able to be deconstructed, like every piece of what she's saying, and it's shaky ground for them to have her come out and say that. It's better for them to probably say nothing at this point than to have all these responses that are.
So I don't
know. This doesn't make sense.
There could be a lot that's still coming out, is what I think might be happening, and I think this is a preemptive move. Because we've had a lot of information out, but it's quite possible that what she's going to be doing is just preempting, other stuff which may come out. So let me just do one thing here, and then I'm going to
probably not from the DOJ though. Probably there's an article about.
No, I think that's what I was reading before we got on here. My article about Melania and Jeffrey from the Epstein files that I cobbled together some of the evidence. Yeah. And I'll just put it back up here because there's some really interesting things. The first part of it is it talks about an email that someone sent Jeffrey Epstein saying that they remember flying back with Donald on his plane the first weekend that they went to visit Jeffrey in Florida. And that was the weekend Donald Trump, met Melania, and he kept on coming out of the bedroom saying, wow, what a hot piece of ass. So that's the one thing that, maybe the person who wrote that is coming public. Maybe someone who is involved in that whole scene might be, coming out. Sorry, you can't hear? Do you hear? Ellie? I guess Ellie can't hear. She'll join us again in just a second. I know that's happening. It's an annoying feature of this particular system we're using. But while we do that, let me keep going here, and we'll wait for Ellie to join us again. There she is. I'm scared to put her on and then take her off again. Are you there? Are you there?
Yeah.
You know you're not doing that. Let's try here. Okay, there you are. No, now you are.
There I am.
It's so confusing.
I can hear you.
Okay, I won't put up any screens while we talk, but it's interesting that there's that little excerpt that refers to someone who, in the eyewitness of this event on Donald Trump's plane, where Trump's coming out and calling Melania a hot piece of ass, and that he recalls that moment. And if I'm not mistaken, it was on election night that email was sent. But the second document that appears is an actual, I think it's it's a proffer statement, and I believe it's one of the assistants who worked with Epstein, and I'll give you the description. Maybe you can help me ferret out who it is. Mm-hmm. She was a former model, had been recruited by Epstein around 2004, and worked as his assistant from approximately 2005 until 2006. I don't know who that is. I don't know if that it might be Nadia. I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like it's her, but I can't be sure.
Yeah.
In any event, she describes in this document, and I'll show it out to everyone afterwards because I don't want to lose your audio here. But she says in her description that she got in contact with Paolo Zempoli, who worked with ID models, and there's a lot of stuff that's been blacked out there, redacted. And then she says Zempoli was trying to buy elite models with Epstein. Epstein introduced Melania to Donald Trump. So that's interesting. I don't know if we ever knew that Epstein was trying to buy elite models with Zempoli. I don't know if that's a thing that we knew. I don't know if that's the case, but we do. The statement, it's under proffer. It means she's under oath, I think. Would you get us, if you're under proffer, are you under oath? Ellie, do you know if that's the truth?
Well, I mean, if you're under proffer, you're trying to get something. So it could be, my guess is this is probably one of the women who was in, do you know what year this is?
Well, this is right after his death. So they interview, so it says here the 12th of July. So it's not just.
Because usually a proffer is because you need something legally, like a step up, because when Ghislaine Maxwell had a proffer, she got moved to the upgraded prison. So it would be somebody who's legally connected. So what that makes me think is it's one of the 4 women who probably have immunity, I would guess.
Yeah, it is an immunity thing because it's a queen for the day thing, right? Where you can sort of say whatever you want, and no one's going to sue you over it.
That could very likely be so it's Nadia Marchenko, or it's Adriana Ross, or it's Sarah Kellen, or it's Leslie Groff. So it's not going to be Leslie Groff. It's not going to be Sarah Kellen.
There are 3 names here that are blacked out so you can't see the name, but 3. Anyone who has got a middle name there. Maybe we'll figure it out afterwards.
Yeah.
I'll double check. But it is interesting that this is our second confirmation then that. Epstein introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump. This is at least the first on oath statement made by anybody. But then in the second email, we've also heard then that Donald Trump was having sex with Melania Trump on his plane on the way back from meeting Melania at Jeffrey Epstein's. It's interesting. She says she's never been on Epstein's plane. I doubt that, but it is important to note that on the way back there, they were flying Donald's plane, not Epstein's plane. So,
that's a big question mark in all this investigation. Nobody is looking into where Donald's plane has been, but
that's true.
Focus on Jeffrey.
The same person goes on to describe, her whole world, and I'll put this back up on the sites. Everyone can go check it out. But she doesn't mention there's Donald Trump again, but she does describe a meeting with Jeffrey Epstein, and I'm not sure this is her describing her thing, but let's take a listen. I'm going to put this up because I think it's important for people to see it. And if it cuts you off again,
okay,
you're going to have to come back because I just think I think it's good for you to see it too. She says someone called either a girl or Epstein and invited X to dinner. I think it's Melania. X went to Epstein's residence on 71st Street in Manhattan. This was the first one-on-one interaction they had with Epstein. Epstein made her wait. She heard him playing the piano, did not recall if she was sent upstairs. X and Epstein had dinner in the dining room. This room was straight ahead when you walked into his home. Epstein asked X what she liked to do. X told Epstein that she liked studying and that she was a good student. They talked about travels and X having a model contract in Japan and South Korea. X mentioned that she thought there was a lot of Russian prostitution. Epstein told her, "That's what I like the best." X recalled Epstein saying something that made her uncomfortable. Epstein gave X a tour of the house, took her to the massage room and had her lay down, took a vibrating thing and then rubbed it on her, told him to stop, or X told her to stop, him to stop. X described the massage room as small, very dark room on the same floor of the master bedroom. A driver took X home and she remembered being tearful in the car. So I think it's just the same thing.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that before.
So do you know who that would be? That's Nadia, right? Presumably.
Yeah, well, there was one that was similar to that, and that was just a single instance. She didn't come back.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's the same one.
Then there's the appearance with Ghislaine Maxwell. So I guess this is the commentary. I haven't read this in a while. So there is a whole section here where we hear from the person who's giving the proffer how they met Ghislaine Maxwell. But there is a witness on phone, so that does sound like it was just more of that. Then she mentions all the usual suspects that we've come to know. There is another mention, and then there's the Michael Wolff thing here. But there's also an email, and maybe you've seen this, of Ghislaine Maxwell talking to Melania, where Melania thanks her and says that she wants to come see her or something like that in an upcoming meeting when she's back in town in New York. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. That is the one email that we have, but it's one of those where Melania's information is redacted. I am on a mission to find out Melania's email address, because I know it's not going to be like Melania@trumpworld.com. It's going to be something that's, unrecognizable. And if we get that email address, that contact information, and we can search by it in the files, that will probably open up a lot.
I agree. I think it'll be really interesting to be able to get those details. But what we're looking at here is a significant shift in tone. I mean, this is not normal. And by any stretch of the imagination, for the White House to be sending Melania Trump to comment about something that would have been considered a scandal way beneath her level. This is not the kind of stuff she would normally even be seen discussing. For her to come out in person and make the statement in front of the White House press corps suggests something very big is happening.
I think something big is happening, and I think people are scared, is what it sounds like to me. It just feels very frantic.
Especially coming as it's coming now, on the heels of a very bad period of time, the Iran war and everything else. This is not something that they're focused on unless they're trying to create a distraction. That's always possible as well. But my guess is that this has much more to do with the fact that they're trying to beat something down before it emerges by putting out her statement first. That would be sort of classic crisis PR, guidance from anyone who is involved in such a thing. So,
it could be Todd Blanche too. It could be, he just has stopped into office and that's his tactic. I don't know. We've got a new guy in there trying new things, but it doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel like it's a casual, normal, thing that would happen if nothing's going on. It does feel very, very forced.
Yeah. I'm very suspicious of it, which, for her to do this now without any announcement and without taking any questions just says that there's more to this than meets the eye. I'm going to just see if I can get this first email back up here so I can show it to you in a full email, but I don't think it's going to let me. One of these days, I will work out this technology. Let's see what happens when I do this. This is that original email that I was talking about at the start here that is sent to Jeffrey Epstein on November 9th, 2016. And it's, I simply cannot believe this victory. I simply cannot believe this victory. No one called it. We all thought she'd win. You must be happy, though. One of the reasons I think that Jeffrey Epstein is quite a fan of Donald Trump's. I remember flying back with Donald on his plane on the first weekend. I went to see you in Florida, and on the weekend, and he met Melania, and he kept on coming out of the bedroom saying, "Wow, what a hot piece of ass." Nuts. Anyway, I hope you are enjoying Saudi, because that's where he was, Saudi Arabia
Would you
at the
send
time.
me that one? Would you like link me that one? Because I might be able to hunt down some different versions of it and see if
I'd be more than happy to send it to you. I mean, I'll do that right now. So there's that, and then there's the other one. Is this proffer? And I think both of those documents are going to be considered very important in the next few days, because that's real evidence taken, contemporaneously. It's not at the exact same time, but there's no reason for Jeffrey Epstein's friend to be saying this, other than they're just friends and they're recalling something. It's not like, it's not something he'd be making up necessarily. All right. Well, I'm going to say that in 30 minutes, we're talking to Scott McFarlane, who may have a lot more information about what's going on here. But this is a very interesting set of developments. I'm going to play the tape again for everybody who wants to watch it again. And because I think there's clues in there. I don't know if you want to stick around for that. I know you've got lots to do.
Yeah, I gotta go pack, but I did listen to the whole thing for sure.
Okay, good. Any other thoughts that strike you? Anything else that you thought was just really germane that people should pay attention to out of the out of that?
The thing that I think about, and I think we've talked about this before, is the idea of a false accent and just how thick it gets when she's in moments of crisis, and that isn't probably the actual accent that she uses. That's just in my own side research and the things and the people that I've talked to. But like in these moments, I when she does get up and speak, I feel like it's a bit of a defense mechanism that it comes from her and they have her speak in front of an audience versus Donald Trump getting up and saying things never happened because we already don't believe him. So I think she comes off as a little bit more fragile and demure, and like maybe we won't mess with her the way we would mess with Donald Trump, but it's all lies. Like it's absolutely 100% not true.
Yeah, and she's also saying that, she's going to sue everybody. So even though it sounds like a very demure statement, she is also saying in there that we're going to sue anybody who prints anything about this. So, that doesn't sound like someone who's just completely, willing to accept the truth as it flows out. It sounds like someone who's ready to fight. And I bet you they will be fighting tooth and nail. There could be videos, there could be films, right? There could be so much other stuff. I don't want to speculate because I don't know, but this could be very damaging. We just don't know yet what it really is. All right, Ellie, sorry to drag you back in here. Have a great trip. We'll see you when you return. And then what I'll do in the meantime is play everyone the entire tape again, because everyone needs to hear Melania Trump for the first time addressing these allegations that she met Donald Trump through Jeffrey Epstein, and denying that she knew him as a friend, but didn't know him socially, as you've been pointing out. All right, Ellie, good to see you. And here's later, Melania Trump.
The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania. The first time I crossed paths with Epstein was in the year 2000 at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I have never been legally accused or convinced of a crime in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking, abuse of minors, and other repulsive behavior. The false smears about me from mean-spirited and politically motivated individuals and entities looking to cause damage to my good name, to gain financially and climb politically, must stop. My attorneys and I have fought these unfounded and baseless lies with success and will continue to maintain my sound reputation without hesitation. To date, several individuals and companies have been legally obligated to publicly apologize and retract their lies about me, such as Daily Beast, James Carville, and HarperCollins, UK. Now is the time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone. Several prominent male executives resigned from their powerful positions after this matter became widely politicized. Of course, this doesn't amount to guilt, but we still must work openly and transparently to uncover the truth. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth. Thank you.
Secretary Lutnick to continue serving.
Well, that's the statement again from Melania Trump as she was describing what she knows about Jeffrey Epstein. Now, we do not know whether she is telling us the full truth there. We don't know whether it's a lie. We don't know why she's doing this, but it is remarkable that she has come out and made a statement like this at such a contentious time. This is not necessarily the thing you come out with, but if there's something that is in the works, that is coming out behind the scenes, and the White House would be made aware of that, it would be normal journalistic process to go and ask them for comment about whatever might be coming out. If that's the case, well, then you've got something there. You've got an explanation of why she's decided to come out and make this statement in time. So we'll keep watching all of these. I will be back with the 5-stack now at 4:35, so 4:30 probably. So we'll do that then. We'll move Scott McFarlane into the 5-stack, so he'll join us in progress. He'll have news for us about how this is developing and how it's being received in DC. So that is terrific that Scott will be joining us then. We will bring other people in because this is a big story. It's not a big story yet. It seems like it's a big story that's about to pop because it's so unusual to have someone like Melania Trump out in public in this way at the White House, making a statement that is so definitive in front of the White House press corps, and threatening people for being sued if they cover this. It is a remarkable thing to happen in the middle of a war, and there is already so much news going on, but this is one of those news stories you can't ignore. So the news is that Melania Trump has made a statement about her alleged ties to Jeffrey Epstein, denying that she knew him, denying that she was his friend. Well, not denying she knew him, because she does say she met him socially. But I bet the pictures and whatever might be coming out will be very different than that. So we'll see you again at 4:30 as we continue to cover this and many other stories. At 4:30, Dean Blundell will be there. Scott McFarlane will join us, and more, as we keep covering this breaking news story about Melania Trump making her statement about Jeffrey Epstein. And by the way, I've reposted the story that I just shared with you. It's going to be on the site, and also on Notes. If any of you are on Substack, it's on Substack Notes. You can find the story there. That's all I was able to find in the Epstein files related to how Melania Trump knew Jeffrey Epstein. And it certainly sounds like the stuff that's mentioned in there, the emails that I've found in there, absolutely suggests that Jeffrey Epstein was certainly around when Donald Trump met Melania, and that maybe his assistant's recollection that Melania was introduced to Donald by Jeffrey Epstein is actually borne out by eyewitnesses, which in fact it appears to be. So we'll continue to follow this. We'll see you again at 4:30. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate your time and all this stopping and starting today. It's quite a busy day. This is breaking news on Narativ.